What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be working on Project Safari again. If you guys haven't seen the previous video, that is a project I'm doing on my E320 station wagon. We're going to be doing a little bit of Safari build on it. Nothing too crazy. I just kind of like the look, and I do go camping and stuff like that, so some of the stuff will be kind of related to camping and going out in wilderness, but it's not going to be a crazy build. If you haven't watched the previous video for an explanation as to why I'm doing this, please do. Today we're going to be working on getting some electrical stuff sorted out. I do plan on putting some lights and stuff here and there. But before putting lights in and tapping them in and doing crazy things with them, I wanted to have a clean solution to wiring things up. My solution for that was this Aux Beam Relay Kit. This is the part number if you guys are interested. I also put a link in the description of the video for this. This is a fuse box slash relay box. It has 6 relays in it and 6 fuses in it. It's capable of, I believe, up to 60 amps total output. So these fuses are fused to a total of 60 amps, but you could realistically run 230s out of it if you needed to. Not only does it have this nice clean fuse box slash relay box that mounts someplace, it also comes with this very clean switch panel. And then this switch panel, as you can see, has 6 spots on it, is made out of some nice, feels good aluminum quality. Then you also have an entire set of custom switch stickers so that you can label the stickers on that switch panel for whatever you want them to be, whether they be for heated seats or horn or whatever you have them set up for. These stickers go on top of these switches here in order to mark them for what they actually work for. And then the spots here are designated by the spots here on the fuse box. It's all in the instructions for installation. So we're going to work on getting this installed today in the car, figuring out where to put it, wiring it in, and then once we get it all figured out, I'm going to run the wiring here that runs to this switch panel inside the car, and I'm going to show you guys where I'm going to mount that up to. So I'm going to get started over here. I've already taken some things apart. I'm just going to try to figure out where I'm going to put that relay box, and we'll figure out how to get it mounted up. Alright, so I did some stuff off camera. I got the box mounted up. I drilled a hole over here into the frame of the car, the body of the car. This is a coarse thread screw. I just drilled the hole out a little bit smaller than the screw was and was able to tap it in there. And it's got some bite into it. It's obviously not going to come out. I have another hole here that I drilled through this part that I have a bracket that I'm going to drop down to where it mounts that tab down there at this angle like this, so that this kind of follows the contours of the framing here so that it doesn't end up hitting the hood up here. I made sure that where it's mounted right here, it's not going to hit the hood. Took my wiring and ran it through this cable thing here. This cable thing here, there's 3 tabs here on the side that lock it in place. If you pry those tabs up, you're able to pull this thing off. When you pull it, you're going to get these 3 tabs off and you lean it towards the back and it'll pop the other 3 tabs on the other side back so that you can pull it off. In this corner here, there was originally like a blanking plug that's made out of rubber. I had initially thought about drilling a hole through this or cutting through this to run the wiring through, but it's kind of small to try to put all the wire through, and I'm not really concerned about it being weatherproof, just because, as you can see, it's all dirty in there anyways. I don't really know how weather tight this area is compared to the engine compartment, so I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I'm going to hook up my battery power here to the jump start post there. There's a 10mm that you can see off to the side there. I'm going to drop this over top of that post to get this cover off back here when it's on there like this. In the corners, you can see these holes here in the corners. There's locking tabs on the box back here that lock this cover in place. So you just pry those tabs out while pulling up on this cover, and it'll access this area here. So I'm going to drop that power on that 10mm post. This wire here, there's a black and red wire that's part of this wiring harness that comes out of this box. The red wire is supposed to be accessory power. I believe their intention is for you to have it hooked up to key on power so that the box only has power when the car's turned on. That's probably there just to keep you from leaving things turned on when you shut the car off. I'm not concerned about that because I'm going to have lights hooked up to it, and I feel like it's going to be pretty obvious when you get out of the car and walk away from it that there's lights on. So I'm just going to end up dropping another ring on this and dropping it on that post over there so it has power all the time. There's also a ground wire that comes out of it. I dropped it on this ground post here that's for jump starting the car. The last wire that comes out of this wiring harness here is your control wire. There's like a special connection here that has like a screw that holds it together and is weather tight. And then I ran it along the front up here along the cowl. I don't have it tucked underneath there too far because the wiper linkage is actually directly underneath this cover and there's no covers on it. You can actually, if you look down in there with the flashlight, see the wiper linkage. So I don't want this wire any further down in here than where it is right now because I don't want it to get caught up in the wiper linkage. So I ran it across the firewall here. I ran it underneath some stuff over here, ran underneath this wiring harness, and then in this plug here, in the corner of this fuse relay box, there's a blank spot in the bottom where like another wiring harness could have gone through depending on the car that this box was in. I just pulled this up and cut an X into the rubber grommet there and pushed the wiring harness through. I ran it through here, and then conveniently, in the back there, underneath this like fuse relay box, there's a hole in the back of this box that goes directly into the car. There's actually no like cover on it, no trim on it, no plug or anything like that. I'll actually show you. You can see up through in there, and you can actually see the underside of the fuse box. And then this right here is my wire for my control right here. So it comes down and it's gonna drop right onto the floorboard here. Once I get everything else outside of the car set up and ready to go, I have to figure out where I'm going to mount this control panel at. I haven't quite determined where I want to put it yet. I was thinking about putting it up here, but then I'm like, don't want the wire just kind of hanging down like that. I can run the wire the other direction out the top of it, which means I could run it up towards the wood trim up here. I'd probably have to cut a notch out of this wood trim to get the wiring to go through behind the trim and through the dash. My other thought was to mount it down here, because then I can kind of leave the wiring hanging out the bottom of it because you're not really going to see it. And then my thoughts were maybe if I mounted it down there, I wouldn't be able to see the buttons on it, but I'm not really all that concerned about not being able to see the buttons on it because after you've used the switches on it 3 or 4 times, you're going to know which switch does what anyways. So other than it being mounted up here just to kind of look cool with the labels on it, I don't really think that it matters if it's mounted down here because I'm going to know what switches are what once it's down here. So we'll see. I'll update this after I figure out where I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to get everything else up front buttoned up, wired up, get my bracket put in place for the rest of my fuse box. And then I'm going to come in here and deal with wiring this switch panel up. And then the next step is this, is I'm going to put my first set of lights on the car. So I'm going to get all this other stuff sorted out and I'll show you that. All right, so it's the next day. I finished out yesterday because I ran into a roadblock where I needed some parts in the parts store and I had to go to work, so I'm just let it be. I did figure out yesterday, though, why that red power wire that comes out of this fuse box, they say to put it to accessory, because right now it's on my auxiliary battery in here. My ground's hooked up. Key is not on. Obviously, I don't have it hooked with an accessory. And the switch panel is backlit. So when that is disconnected, that switch panel shuts off. So I'm going to have to hook that accessory power out to accessory power, which I didn't really want to have to do because that's just more work, but obviously I'm going to have to. So if you are using this fuse box that I linked, that I'm using in this car and that I linked in the description, just know the accessory has to go to the accessory. You cannot cheat and just hook it up to power all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my underhood fuse box over here on this side, and I'm going to try to find a fuse in there that's key on power, and then I'm going to use a fuse tap like this. This is not really the most preferred method for doing things, but I'm going to try to find a fuse that has accessory power and isn't super important. So if it does go wrong, it doesn't mess up something that may be, you know, important for me to have while driving until I can fix it or redo it. But I'm going to find something. I'm going to figure out what it is. I'll let you guys know on this car what it is. Just know if you are trying to figure this out on your own car with this fuse box, you got to find something that's key on only power. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to run the wiring across the engine bay, kind of tie it into the loop that's going around the engine compartment for the controller that's in the car, and just kind of hide it and tuck it up in there. So let me find this fuse. All right, so when working on trying to find a fuse that that would work, easiest way I can tell you guys to do it is you're gonna take a voltmeter. You're gonna put one side on ground. I have that side over there on ground. See this lead coming in? And I have my other lead. And what you do is you go across the back of these these fuses. If you look on the back of the fuses here, there's like you can see the metal blade of the fuse here. And if I put this in there, right now it has 0 voltage on it, but when I turn the key on, it has battery voltage. So that means that that key gets power and the fuse is powered up. So I initially found this one and found that it was key on battery power, and was going to use it because it's in a very nice convenient spot that I can easily put my my fuse tap here in, and it's not going to hit anything, not be like in a weird direction or anything like that. So I went to my wiring diagram to figure out what that fuse was for, and it turns out that it's for the starter relay. Now I don't know if the power for it goes away after a while or not. I don't know. I didn't look into it that long. What I did notice when I was looking it up, that fuse number 51 on here, if you guys can see. So this is fuse 59 right here for starter relay. But if you come over here a couple slots, there's fuse 51, which is a 5 amp fuse, and below it, it says that it's not used in this car. So I was curious. I found fuse 51 in the fuse box, which is right here. There's a 7.5 amp and then 2 5 amps. 51 is the 5 amp that's closest to the passenger compartment. And that fuse has 0 voltage with the key off and then gets battery voltage with the key on. So I'm going to use that fuse because it's not connected to anything. It's not going to ruin anything if I put that fuse tap in. And I shouldn't even have to put this fuse back in that fuse tap. I should be able to just drop the fuse tap in there and put the fuse in it for the circuit that I need to fuse for my accessory lead, and it shouldn't make any difference. So I'm going to use this fuse tap. I'm going to get things wired up, and I'm going to run my wires, and then we'll see if it works properly. All right, so it was a success. I tapped into fuse 51. As I said, that one was not used, but it still had power with the key on. I ran my wire over. I tapped it into my red accessory wire coming out of here, and now my control panel inside the car only comes on when the key's on, so worked out good for me. I used some of this wire sheathing because obviously I'm using red wire, so I know that it's power. So I used some of this sheathing to kind of cover it up so I don't have a giant red wire chilling along the back of the engine compartment running around. And then I taped it off to my control wire that runs around the back of the engine compartment and over to here. I think I initially started zip tying it and didn't like how the zip ties look, so I'm going to cut these zip ties off and tape the rest of this off as well. But I just kind of ran it with it so that it's together. If for some reason I ever need to pull any of this stuff apart, I can unhook the connector inside the car and pull it back through the fuse box and then unplug that fuse tap and take all of this wiring here and just get it back over the other side of the car if I needed to like take this cowl or anything out over here. I don't like to, when I'm wiring things up, to just make things hardwired on both ends. I like to have connections somewhere in between because I'm a mechanic and I work on cars, and I hate when people run wiring across stuff and there's no way to get it out of the way. Like if it's an aftermarket accessory, if I have to like pull an engine out and the wire just ran across the top of it, I'm going to have to cut it and then fix it, and I don't like having to do that, so I would never do that to myself either. So the next step that we're going to be doing today is I have 2 lights. These are some Harbor Freight specials, and I'm going to be mounting these lights to the back edge of the hood like this to face forward. These are kind of like spotlights. My plans were to try to use them to like light up the side of the road for like seeing deer, because I do live out in the country and I like to be able to see when I'm driving at night. So you're probably wondering to yourself, how am I going to mount those lights to the hood? Well, another cool little thing purchased from Amazon. This is a clamp that clamps to the underside of the hood, or to the back edge of the hood. It actually clamps up underneath the hood like this. Once you adjust all these little guys here out, it clamps to the underside of the hood, and then here it allows you to screw down the base of those lamps down onto this bracket here at the hood, and then it has rubber on this side of this bracket to keep it from damaging the paint on the outside. Obviously the underside is going to get a little messed up, but it's underneath the edge of the hood, so you're not going to have to worry about it looking bad. But I'm going to get these mounted up. I'm going to figure out where I want these lights at and get these all mounted up, and then I'm going to get everything wired in. So let's get these lights mounted up and see what they look like. All right, so we got our lights mounted up. Those brackets that hold those lights on are pretty straightforward. There's just a bunch of little screws here along the bottom, and they have like an Allen in the middle of them. The Allen key that fits these, comes in the kit with the brackets. I put these up there, they're all tightened up into place, and then there's a screw that comes with the bracket that pinches onto the hood that's shallow enough that it doesn't go all the way through and hit the hood. I use that to mount these up. You see that I got these mounted off to the side. They're kind of angled out. That's what I wanted. I want them kind of off to the sides of the road so I can see deer. That's what I'm going to use these lights for. I ran the wiring around the back of the hood. It should get, you know, right over top of this seal here. These lights from Harbor Freight come with a plug connection for them. I wired the one end of the plug connection to wiring that I ran down, and then this end's just the wire that comes off of the light itself, so you can unhook them and take the hood off or take off whatever you got them mounted on. I ran the wiring from one side, from the driver's side, over to here. I followed all the wiring here that goes with my headlight washers windshield washers, and there's wiring here for the washers themselves as well as the heater elements in them. In order to run my wiring up through here, I had to take this trim piece off. There's 4 Phillips style trim clips. There's one here, one there, one over there on the other side, and another one up on the top that's identical to this one. Once you get those out, there's 3 clips here. They kind of push towards the front of the, or towards the back of the car, and then up underneath the foam here along the top here, there's a bunch more. Where each one of these indentions right here actually is, there's another clip like this one here holding this trim piece to the hood. Once you undo that, that trim piece pops out, and then you can run your wiring and tie it off to all this other wiring up here. So I got everything else buttoned up. I got my wiring ran. These are my 2 power wires for each light right here. My ground is grounded to the battery, the auxiliary battery that's underneath the cabin air filter cover. So I got those mounted up. I'm now going to work on getting the control panel mounted up. I believe I'm just going to end up sticking it to the bottom of the dash here just because it's the easiest route to run the wiring and stuff, and it doesn't require cutting or anything. I may move it in the future, but obviously I have more than enough wire here to deal with moving it pretty much wherever I wanted. But I'll show you guys what these look like. So they're not, I think they're 2,000 lumens per side. So, I mean, they put out a pretty good amount of light. They're as bright, if not brighter, than the headlights on this car. So that's in here. Obviously, that's going to, because they're a spotlight, they kind of look brighter. I'm going to take them outside and I want to see what they look like. But I'm going to get this mounted up here to the dash so that it's out of my way and not hanging down on the floor, and get all this other stuff underneath here put away. And then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to show you guys what they look like outside in the dark. Alright, so I wanted to start off by showing you guys, I ended up mounting the switch panel down here. Obviously, it was supposed to be a good-looking, clean switch panel, and you wanted to mount it up someplace where you could see it, but it's blue lighting. Obviously, it's a little bit brighter than it would normally be because I don't have any stickers on anything yet, but I didn't want it up facing me because all my lighting on my dash is white, so I mounted it down there. I can still reach the switches from my driver's seat without having to really reach too far, so not too concerned about it. I do want to tell you that I am thoroughly impressed with these Harbor Freight lights. So we are in the middle of nowhere right now. I don't have any ambient light other than like moonlight mixed with a little bit of glow from in town. So right now I have my parking lights on. I don't know if you guys can really see, but there's a little bit of lighting out there, but not a whole lot. So this is going to be fog light. This is only one passenger side fog light because my driver's side fog light's kind of messed up. And then I'm going to turn my headlights on, and I only have one good headlight. My passenger side headlight is a little bum. It works, but it's definitely not as bright as it should be. But my driver's side headlight works. So this is low beam headlights. So you see, I can see down the road decently, but it's not great. Like, it obviously goes a little bit farther than the fog light, but I'm still kind of in the dark. This is high beams. I have 2 good working high beams. So obviously I can see even further down the road. And this is the driving lights that I just installed. I mean, these things are absolutely ridiculous. Now, you see I'm getting a little bit of glare in here, but that's because my inside my windshield's a little fogged up because it's humid outside. But this is the view that you're getting down the road. No driving lights, driving lights. So they're doing exactly what I want them to do. They're lighting up the sides of the road, giving me a little bit extra light off to the sides where I could have deer coming running onto the road. So that's what I wanted out of these. I'm obviously going to have some more lights mounted up in the future to kind of light up here out in the middle where we have like a little bit of a dark spot from these driving lights. I'm going to get some more that I'm going to end up mounting either in front on the bumper or in the grill or something like that. But we're going to add more lights. This is just my start. So guys, I can't believe how bright these things are for being Harbor Freight lights. I mean, this is pretty decent. I guess the only thing at this point now is to decide, you know, to see whether or not they last very long. They might last a month, they might last a week, I don't know. I'll try to update you guys down the road and let you know that these are working. They're still working. I haven't had any issues, but so far I'm happy with them. All right guys, so we're done with this job for today. Got the lights mounted up, got the fuse box wired in so I can add future lights or other things to it. I'm happy with these lights, I really am. I spent about 10 or 15 minutes outside with them both on while I was adjusting them and was touching them the entire time, and they never got hot. So it appears as though the heatsink that's built into them is doing a good job. They don't feel, you know, they don't get hot to the touch. Which tends to happen sometimes with LEDs because the aluminum housing that they're made out of is designed to dissipate heat, and sometimes they do get really hot, and that's just how they are. But they didn't get hot, so we'll see. Like I said, at this point, I feel like the longevity of them is the only thing that will be in question. In case anybody wanted to know, this is the brand. I told you guys it was from Harbor Freight. Road Shock LED 3-inch spotlights with side light. They have these LEDs along the side here on either side. They're actually a left and a right light. I don't really know how much light those were putting out or how much they were helping. It's an interesting concept, but I don't really know how much it was helping. It says they're 2090 lumens per light. I don't really know if that's true. They were bright. I don't know how bright they really were. I don't have a really way of testing them or comparing them to anything else as of right now. I do plan on putting more lights on to kind of fill in the dead spot that I had from those two on the that you saw on the road. My plan is the next set of lights is going to be installed in the grill here. I plan on cutting out the middle part of the grill and leaving the chrome outside ring in place and maybe doing some mesh in there, kind of make it just different, and then making some, either doing some more square lights like that or maybe some round lights. I was thinking round lights to kind of match up with the round of the headlights, but we'll see. Luckily, I have a spare grill out of my other parts car that I can use to cut up and mess with and see what works and what doesn't work. And if I mess that one up, then, you know, I have another one that I can mess with if need be. So that'll be my next project. That'll probably be the next video on this car, is going to be the lights in the grill. There's a lot of room behind this grill in this car, between this grill and the radiator, that I can put lights in. So we're going to work on that next. Other than that, we're all done for today. If you guys enjoyed this content, please drop a like on this video. I would really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you later.